ambiguous reality. God, Hashem wanted the spies to be able to see the land, to appreciate it. That's one of the reasons that Hashem hoped that they would be able to see the land and be enamored of the land. That they would come back and say, this is a beautiful place. Let's all go happily. Instead, of course, they came back negatively. What did Hashem do to make them see the land as being beautiful? Well, first of all, he wanted to protect them. He did not want the people in Canaan to notice that they were spies. They would have killed them. They were recognized as Israelites. So Hashem caused the death of several of the leaders of the Canaanites. And since they were important people, there were thousands and thousands of people in each funeral, they were busy and they were preoccupied with the funerals. They didn't pay attention to the spies. So what do the spies think? Instead of seeing the kindness that Hashem is giving them, a distraction, they saw, oh, this is a terrible land. Look, people are dying in this land. There must be wrong with the climate. Something wrong with there must be some carcinogens. The water is bad. That's what they saw, instead of seeing the positive. And then Hashem made them see great fruits that they were magnificent, large and plump and beautiful. You know, the tourist office of Israel has a logo of two men carrying one cluster of grapes, one cluster. And it's so big that they need two people to carry it from their shoulders. In fact, the rabbis say that the cluster was so big that it needed 8 people to carry it. In any case, the fruits were magnificent. Somebody would say, look what a beautiful land it is. So instead of looking at the beautiful land, they said, oh, this land is weird. It produces fruits so large, it must be a land of giants. If the grapes are like this, the people must be also giants. And again, they saw the negative instead of the positive. And that aspect and of course, the greatest miracle of all is they did not appreciate that they came back alive out of Canaan. Nothing happened to them. Instead of being grateful to Hashem and seeing how Hashem protected them, and that was a message that so as they were able to come in and out safely without casualties, that Hashem was going to protect the Jewish people also and allow them to conquer. Instead, they utilized the mission to come and destroy the trust and the hope of the Jewish people on the land of Israel. And this teaches us that when we look at reality, we actually have a choice of how we view it. We can see we can see the positive aspect of it, we can see only the negative aspect. The reality itself is ambiguous. It is us. It depends on us how we interpret it. They interpret it negatively. I want to point out that the land of Israel, the Rav Kook says that in order to get the land, inherit the land, you need to be humble. And it says the humble will inherit the land of Israel. What does humility have to do with the land of Israel? It appears to be that why is the humble that will inherit the land? And what does it mean inherit the land? And I'd like to suggest the following idea. When you live in the land of Israel, even today, with all the enemies around it, the tiny country, there's so many problems. And this was exactly also at that time, when they were about to come into the land of Israel with so many enemies, so difficult. If they thought of themselves as being humble, which means that they saw God guiding the world, God running the show, God being the one who is going to fight for them, if they were humble, they would have said, we trust that Hashem, that we can do it. And that's what's the message also today. The person is arrogant. And here we have an interesting paradox. An arrogant person thinks that everything is upon him. So when he encounters a great difficulty, he goes away because it's bigger than him. A humble person, on the other hand, who doesn't see the strength coming only from himself, when he sees a problem, he knows that there is a power behind him greater than him, is Hashem. And so long as they have Hashem with them, they will be able to conquer. That is the meaning of the meek, or the humble, shall inherit the earth. And so I think that the lesson that we learn from this is that we can see something positive or something negative from the same reality. Let us recall there was according to the book of Yechezkel, people had negative things to say about the land of Israel to begin with. And what was that? Let us recall the land of Israel had one of the greatest ecological calamities, almost like a nuclear explosion, destroying the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. It had never happened in history before. Until the more recent volcanic explosions in the Vesuvius and in Pompeii and a couple of other places in history, there had never been a place where a city or an area had been destroyed like the Sodom and Gomorrah. Now we know that Hashem destroyed those cities because they were unjust, because they were cruel, because they were inhumane. And Hashem, by destroying the cities, was sending a message to humanity, just like he did with the flood. If you are not going to pursue justice, if you're not going to take care of your neighbor, if you're going to treat people with inhumanity and cruelty, then God will punish you. And that the punishment was the story of Sodom and Gomorrah was the greatest lesson that the world could learn. That if you are going to be unjust, you can be destroyed. So instead of looking at the history as something they could learn from, and be careful next time not to be unjust and not to be cruel, and to treat people with respect, and to remember that Sodom was famous for his cruelty to people who came from the outside, to outsiders, and to the poor. They were all rich people. And they hated people who came to beg them. A city like this deserved to be killed. So what did the world say? Oh, land of Israel is dangerous. People die there. They remember the tragedy, but they did not remember the reason. So just to summarize, the point that I want to make is that reality itself is ambiguous. In reality, when you think about it, reality is only in our heads. Because all we see, all that we touch, is only processed through our brain. So there is nothing outside. It's all that I see is inside of me, physically. It's inside my brain, the images. And so I would like to suggest, so as vision and the neurological sensations that we feel, that we are touching something, that we're lifting something, all of this is really something that occurs within our brain. Similarly, the brain is interpreting, and we have a choice. We can interpret it as something positive. And if we believe that Hashem is with us, that He's sending us good things, or we can take a very negative attitude and see everything as being bad, terrible. That was what the spies did. And they were so persuasive that the entire nation started to cry, making Hashem very upset. Hashem said, you are going to cry in this night, every Tisha B'Av, you're going to cry. And unfortunately, that is the story that we have experienced for the last 3,500 years since that day. Just to tell you, fortunately, although the spies died and they were punished, their children and the children of that generation all perished. But the children were able to enter the land of Israel later on under Yeshua, and they conquered the land. And as you know, the rest is history, how we created the beautiful kingdom of Israel there.